the human animal of the person consuming the content is always looking for the connection to the other human animal. And that's incredibly difficult to be superior to that through text only.
Welcome to the Speak as a Leader podcast, where you learn how to speak fearlessly on stage, on camera, or in person. I'm Nausheen, a leadership communications coach from the Fortune 500 world. And on Speak as a Leader, I talk to leaders from corporate giants like Google, IBM, and Amazon to startup founders, visionaries, TEDx speakers, and even leaders who've worked at the Pentagon. You will get to know how these leaders learned the art and science of speaking fearlessly on any stage. Let's get started. Richard Moore is in many ways the LinkedIn mentor that you didn't know you needed. This man makes selling look easy. And that's why everyone is on the LinkedIn platform. We're all selling something, our brands, our services, or ourselves as job candidates. I talked to Richard in my very special LinkedIn influencer series about how he built his brand on the platform, both through writing and speaking. After spending several years on LinkedIn, showing up consistently day after day, Richard shares his secrets on how to gain momentum on LinkedIn and beyond. I'm really excited to show you what we talked about. To get right into it, Richard, you've been an OG on LinkedIn now for a while. A lot of people know about your work, and we've seen you through all kinds of mediums, really. A lot of the times through writing, but then also through speaking, especially your offline speaking events that you've been doing. And that's something we have in common, this love for community building and speaking in public. So I wanted to ask you, what is the difference for you between building your personal brand through writing versus speaking?
What's the difference for me? It's an interesting one because I think that writing is very focused on me. If I take a moment and think about what I write, it's very focused on me and my commentary on the state of play in the space I'm in. Whereas speaking has derived itself from when I was selling, and I would need to engage that person. Speaking for me, if you look at even when I'm hosting an event and running a panel, I'm always conscious that I'm working with the panelists, but massively focused on working with the audience as well. So when I'm speaking, and you're going to probably say, well, this is what you're meant to do anyway, Richard. When I'm speaking, I'm not just saying things at a group of people. I am reading them so much and thinking like, am I getting the verbal, not like the nodding, like if they're a vocal group going, yeah, oh, good point, I like that. If it's like a workshop, or if it's a group I'm doing a keynote to and they're not going to speak, am I seeing them like have that light up moment and write a note or something like that? So I'm constantly working with dynamics to really test if I'm getting them to kind of engage. So the brand side comes from sharing different facets of me. And I think what I want is always for people to feel like I'm really speaking to them. And I know that's cliche, but I really like not even just speaking to them, but really engaging with them.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating that you took being engaging as the key factor, the key differentiating factor.
Yeah.
But then you talked mostly about speaking offline, where of course you can be engaging. But I would say that even when you create videos, which you do a lot of, even when you create videos or do podcasts, for example, where you can't see the audience, it's still a more engaging medium. And you'll always see proof of this on LinkedIn, for example. Whenever you put a video, your community just engages more with the post. They see more of you. And just the fact that they're seeing more of you, that you're there, you're vulnerable, you can't hide behind anything. It's all of you. You're speaking to them. Just that fact makes you more approachable.
Exactly. And that's why I love doing everything in one take. So if you look at my first LinkedIn course, my Basics of LinkedIn course from 5 years ago, I did the whole thing in one take, broke it into chapters, and that was it. And like, I think people kind of loved, like, there's a moment when I drop the pen on for the whiteboard. There's a moment where I like a pen didn't work. I had a nightmare with pens, I remember that day. And so I just threw it and got another one. And like, people don't care. And if you say and ah a bit, no one cares, because the whole point from the sales perspective is, as well as the detail and the knowledge, I want them to have a sense of what it'd be like to work with me. And if they think I'm accessible, in the sense of that human, someone who's probably good energy and a good guy to be around, like good warm energy, you end up with them thinking, well, not even thinking, it's a subconscious feeling, in fact, here's someone I want to be around. And it's that, interestingly, that translates to a subconscious reaction when they see the content of, oh, cool, Richard, I'll engage, I'll stop the scroll for this one, whatever it might be. And I think we need to lean into that as much as we can, because that is the bit we need to recognize matters with community building, because no one is under any obligation to engage in your content. It's down to if they feel they want to. Yes, a hook can work. Yes, attention grabbing visuals can work, but over time, what you want is for that person to default to, well, it's Richard, so I will check this out, as opposed to, come on, someone entertain me, please, you know?
Yeah, that's of course the ideal. That's the holy grail of brand building, where you matter more than the message. But of course, it takes a lot of hard work to get there. And a lot of people can even critique that and say, well, why? Why should the person be elevated so much? But that's really what personal branding is all about.
The person has to be elevated so much because humans. That's it. That's the answer. That's what it is.
That's a good answer. Yeah. So this is the reason why I'm doing this video series is because there's a lot of emphasis on LinkedIn, specifically when it comes to copywriting. And of course, it's justified. You have to write well. But then there are a lot of people who say that's all you need to do to build a personal brand. You just need to focus on writing well, being the best copywriter you can be, and infuse that with your brand, infuse that with your values. Maybe being on video or doing podcasts is like the cherry on top, but it's not necessary. And that's why I was excited to talk to you, because I feel like you and I are in similar camps on that, where I don't think speaking is just the cherry on top. I think it's more than half of the equation. It's the crust, or it's the filling. It's part of the pie that you can't really ignore. So I want to ask you about that. Yeah. What do you feel about that? How do you feel like speaking specifically brings in ROI? Because we both talk about creating those business opportunities through LinkedIn.
This is a great question. And what's interesting, and I'd like to think I'm a fair authority, being in sales 20 years. And the thing is that my bias is always to, is there an outcome whereby this client acquisition here? So how does this piece of content map to that? How does the brand being built map to that? And, some people will write only because that's where they are psychologically. And they're just like, I ain't doing video, I just can't. And so fine. And the good news for them is that they can absolutely thrive with text only. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the value add from using, and the ROI of using the visual and the video. You're quite right. It's not a cherry on top. And the terrible saying, it's terrible because it's wrong and needs evolution, of people by people, is in the way a bit here. And because the truth is that the better version of that saying would be people by people they like. That's the more accurate delivery of it. And so if people by people they like, we are simply giving people a harder time to access us. Good for you if you're an epic copywriter, and they'll argue till the sun goes down that their ability to deliver tonality and storytelling will bring people in, of course, but you're not going to do it as well as that person being in the room, because ultimately the human animal of the person consuming the content is always looking for the connection to the other human animal. Are they relatable? Are they a threat? They're making those judgments all the time. We are hardwired to do so for survival reasons we don't have time to talk about. But that we've evolved over the years to make sure we make a judgment on if that person is good to be in our space or not. And it's simply you're more accessible to that animalistic part of that non-thinking, less cerebral, reactive, instinctual, primal part of the brain, when you're just showing who you are. there'll be people who hear this and hear me speaking, and they'll be like, what an idiot. And there'll be other people who think to themselves, now that's so right. Or they like how I say it. Or, oh, I hate English people. Or, oh my God, that accent's so cool. And whatever it might be, for some people, that's the right flavor. And that's incredibly difficult to be superior to that through text only.
I love that. I love that you're talking about how doing more video, being more present on camera or even on a stage gets attraction from the tribe that you want to build.
Exactly.
It shows people who you are, and then the people that you want to attract will automatically, magnetically get drawn to you and what you're putting out.
So if I may tack on the kind of the quick summary, what we're doing here is we're using showing ourselves as much as possible so that or what we're like as a person, which is why live is so powerful too, not a constantly reshot video to make it perfect. The live riffing version of you is brilliant because as well as qualifying people, as just discussed, importantly it disqualifies people as well. So I'm urging people to do what I do, which is embrace the fact that you will divide, and the majority of people were like, it's not, they won't think it, they'll be just feeling that's not really my kind of guy. But then there'll be some who are like, that's so right. And I just think it's important to recognize it's a great disqualifier as well, which adds efficiency to your top of process.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any last words for someone who wants to start building their personal brand? Should they explore writing or speaking? How should they go about it?
So there's a lot of interesting advice. I remember once going to a workshop where it was how to build your brand from scratch. And it seemed only to me laughable that the idea was we're going to sit down and work for an hour through a worksheet and we'll pop out the other side with what our personal brand focus should be. And I was like, you can't do that without testing. So here's my advice. What you think is probably about right is the best start point. So like, who are you going to try and be? Who are your values? How are you going to come across? The tone of voice and so on. But recognize you won't be 100% right, because what you need then is to hone your philosophy through talking lots, through doing lots, through being on the pitch lots, not days or weeks, but months and years. So I have a strong sense of direction in who I am, because if you take LinkedIn alone, the consistency daily has been there for over 5 years now. And so, I was a little in the dark. Now I got closer and closer. And after a while, you're like, I really am aligned. I know what I do. So you need to recognize you won't be perfect to start with in many ways, but specifically what my brand stands for and its identity. Embrace just kind of evolving towards it. People don't like that answer, Nausheen, because what I'm doing is saying patience, sorry, but because people want the quick answer, but that's the best way to do it.
No, I love that because you embody that. We were just talking about how you didn't build your brand overnight. You're not an overnight success. You're a success after years and years of hard work and strategizing and experimenting and looking at what's working and what's not working. And that's really the best way to build a very solid brand. Everyone knows you as the person who's been around and who will be around. And that's what you want to be known for. Someone who's reliable, who's this consistent voice.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much, Richard. It was so good talking to you and connecting with you again. Hey, you're still here. Thanks for listening all the way till the end. I'm super grateful for your support. If you liked the episode, please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars on the platform that you're listening on. It would mean the world to me, and it will help more people discover Speak as a Leader. To know more about how I help leaders speak fearlessly, just go to Nausheen.com. That's N for Nausheen and Sheen like Martin and Charlie. See you in the next episode. Till then, speak fearlessly.